Okay, gang, we're going to return back to doing this AirDog install, and now I'm going to turn around and do the draw straw that everybody has such a problem with. So we got the kit from Diesel Auto Power, and it is right there, and it's an AirDog 150 I'll be installing. I got the draw straw. It's the newer design with the bulkhead connector versus what I've done back in the past, which is just a barb fitting. And we're going to install this straw and cut it appropriately inside this fuel tank, which is a 35-gallon tank on this 1 ton. We went ahead and drained out most of the fuel, but you can still see there's fuel in the tank, which that's most of it. So now we're going to go through the process of getting this drilled out and set up. As you can see, you got 2 high spots here. You got this one here. You got this one over here. I've been looking already under the truck, and if you look at the center right here, that's going to be where that center hole is going to be. So just forward of it, there's nothing in the way, nothing to interfere, because the next cross member is where the band goes in. There's 2 slots there. So we're going to go ahead and looking at the tank from the same perspective way it sits. So the center was here, we're going to go to here, and I'm going to drill that hole right there. So give me a moment, I'll get this prepped up and we'll go for it. Okay, gang, so since I'm going to be drilling that hole, I need to clean up the surface of this tank just a little bit so we're not getting a bunch of garbage in the tank. I want to just clean up that spot really good. Just a little carb spray and a rag. Make sure we're not dropping garbage in his tank. Now, I've already set me up a 1-inch paddle bit. I'm going to use this spot for my, there we go, for my drilling. This is going to be rather challenging for me, being I'm not right-handed. And this little cup I've got in my hands just to try to catch some of the shavings so I don't create a bunch of a mess in the tank. And just take it slow and easy. Like I said, I'm not right-handed, so I'm just trying to be careful not to stab myself in the hand here. No, I did push the piece through though. Did get myself in the finger. I did fish it out, not a big deal. Didn't drop much in there, thank God. Now, I want the straw, so we mark this sucker. Now, as you can see, I've already got the tank drained, sitting up on blocks. I'm going to take all this stuff off. Actually, I better take all of it off. It's going to be in my way. So that's the amount we got to clip off to make it up to here. So this is going to be a measurement we're going to make. Hang on, I got to grab me a Sharpie. Okay, I return. I had to go out to my pickup and get a Sharpie for doing this project. And also, pick up 2/4. Now, according to FAST, they want you to do 2/4 on the bottom. You could do 1 or 2. It's debatable because you look at the distance between the two. It's not a huge difference. So we'll just do 2 for the safety's sake. And I'm just stacking those right up under the tube for it to sit on. Approximately straight up and down. So the straw is sitting on top of it. Now I need a rag for my hand. Now that I stuck it all in that fuel. That was right behind me. So now we're going to measure the straw to that point. That's what we need to trim off. So that gives us distance to trim. Don't forget your quarters in the bottom. So give me a second. I'm going to have to set myself up to cut this off. All right. Okay, gang. So got the tube pulled out. As you can see, my mark right here for what I measured sticking up, standing up in 2/4. Now I got to measure out that same distance, and it's just barely scant, like a 1/16 of an inch from the 4 inches. So now you do the same thing to this side. So I want that to be right there. And that's going to be the length of my straw. So now, this is where I variate a little bit. I don't do the drill method that they show because I do things a little differently. Yeah, my vices had it. And just take your time, slow and easy. So normally I'd take my pocket knife out, my old trusted friend here. Just kind of scrape the crumbs out of the tube, all the burrs and stuff off the end, so you don't drop this crud back in the tank. You don't need to change your filters premature because you're sloppy. So now that's cut off straight, as you've seen. This should actually fit down inside there without any issues. And just for reference, that turned out to be about the thickness of a 1/4 in the bottom. So this is going to fit out really nice, because now I got the sealing washer and the flat washer that go back on this. So that will make up that difference a little bit. And it's got a little bit of a gap to the bottom. I won't even need to notch it, because just the way it sits with the washers now installed, it's got just about a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to turn the nipple towards the other side. And this is always kind of challenging. Get your arm down inside the fuel tank. As you can see. And start to... Actually, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to change this up. Put the seal on top. Put the washer on the bottom with the nut. That way it doesn't eat the washer, the lock washer into the tank bottom. or tank top. Come on. It's hard to see what you're doing when you can't see inside the tank. Come on, baby. There we go. So I don't need my quarters anymore. I can stick those back in my pocket. Go get me a crescent wrench so I can reach in there and tighten that critter. Yeah, forgive my disaster here. It's a work in progress. Ooh, not big enough. Hang on. Okay, gang, just to show you, that's where the straw turned out to be in. Just barely 2/4 thick off the bottom. I'm not even gonna bother notching it because it's got plenty of clearance in the empty state. So let me go ahead and finish this up and we'll get the tank mounted back up. Okay, so after getting this taken care of, the straw, I went and got the fitting for it. Now basically just screws in. This is that quick connect stuff that they typically supply with AirDogs. I'm not exactly a huge fan of it, being that they've had issues with sealing problems in the past. But that's what the kit comes with. So there we go. We got the straw put in. I can put my fuel cylinder back in this tank, which I left under the truck. And like I said before, there is a tick mark. Let's make sure we're going the right direction. There's the tick, so it goes this way. Because here's the notches where the tick mark's supposed to line up. Just like that. So now I know I left the ring up on the fuel lines, and it's right there. Kind of awkward getting these rings started at times. I'm going to need my trusty hammer and screwdriver again to set this ring. So I just very carefully tap on them. Until it feels tight. That's it. So there you go. Got the AirDog Draw Straw installed, wrench tight. We're ready to put the tank back in. Okay, gang. So now I gotta get this fuel tank back in the truck. It's got a little bit of fuel in it, so it sloshes and moves rather uneasy. But it's not hard enough to get in there. So you want to get it basically about where it's supposed to go. We also got to gather up our bands. One for that side, one for this side. Hopefully I got it in the right spot. Like I said, I'm not too worried about flexing the bands a little bit. I think I'm in the wrong notch. Yep. Just gotta look at your fuel tank. It'll tell you where it's gotta go. Okay. So we basically got it in place where the tank is supposed to land. We can just lift this critter up. Well, better get my nuts handy before I do. I already got the impact gun still laying here. And like I said, since the tank's not full of fuel, it don't weigh a ton load. It's just awkward. Now I got a drive shaft that's gonna hang me up. Hang on, guys. A little bit crowded here. Hang on. Okay, gang. I went ahead and, because of limitation of space, as a matter of fact, let me just pull it off my head. So I got both mans back up, and I'm not sure if you can see it. There's the pickup for the straw, and then our cinders right there. So now we just gotta zip that back together. Give me a second, put this back on my head. All right. So now, little stones on the floor are really messing with me. Drive line's in my way. Tank's in. Okay. So I got to go ahead and get these all plugged back in. And I got to see the notches where the clips go. And no, it doesn't make for very good camera stuff when you can't barely see yourself and trying to aim a camera off your head. There's click. You gotta turn these clips so they match the notches in the tubes. And knock the light down. This one. Did get it clicked? No, it didn't. Snap. There we go. Now we got our electrical that goes back on the sender, and it's hidden back there. And something to note on this that's happened to me, make sure you get your electrical connector all the way down and seated and snapped and the lock pin over. I didn't get mine on very good on Beast one time, and it cost me a $250 fuel sender because of the fact that Water got up behind the pins, salt, and it rotted out the center pin for the fuel gauge. And nevertheless, I ended up having to replace it because of salt and corrosion problems. Dang it. Creeper's gonna mess with my butt. Hard to push on something when you're rolling away from it. Sometimes you gotta sit right on the ground. So, need my scrubber again. Let's see if I can. Well, now I'll just shove it in farther than I need, and still gives you guys some light to see what I'm doing. There we go. And today's weather, it's been off and on rain showers here. Humidity's high. It's only like 75 degrees this morning, but boy, I'm boiling sweat sitting out here in the shop. And these don't have to be super tight. They just got to be tight enough that they're not going to weep. You don't have to crush them to death. And that's good enough. And this one, since it passes in front of the tank, okay, just knock the hose clamp off. And as you can see, I got to deal with some very unusual trucks with all kinds of unusual setups. Nothing's a factory setup around here. Everybody's customized their trucks to some far extent that you have to be creative. And here we are being creative again. I gotta get this hose back on. Let's let it clamp up a ways. There we go. All right. And if you had a true bed on here, this wouldn't be this easy. You'd be fighting a little harder because you'd have the wheel well in your way. You can't sit up close to it. It's kind of like threading yourself between the tires and the fender skirts. Becomes a little difficult. Now let's see if I can get the clamp down over the barb. There we go. All right, so now we got hose clamp on the filler tube back in here. We got our clamp on our vapor tube. Sender and fuel and return are back hooked up, even though I'm not going to use the stock lines. Well, at least suction line. But that concludes installing your fuel tank and getting the AirDog straw in.